Hello, folks. Welcome to the Joe Morley Sports Show here on YouTube. And today, what I've been doing over the last couple times, I've been breaking down team previews. Today, we're going to work on the Los Angeles Rams. If you don't know who I am Joe Morley. I run JoeMorleySports.com. You can check that out. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, all that. I do daily posts. But right now, I'm just working on team previews of the Los Angeles Rams. Here's a 2020 team preview. Here, if you don't know the head coach, here's Sean McVeigh. He's 33-15 in his career. He's only 34 years old. I mean, he was in the Super Bowl at 32 years old. He was one of the youngest coaches ever hired at 31. A couple years ago, he lost in the Super Bowl against the Patriots. He had the number one offense going all the way into that Super Bowl, and somehow only put up 3 points. I don't know what happened in that game. A lot of people have their theories about the Patriots, but it was a bad game for the Rams, and the best offense all year only puts up 3 points. It's kind of weird. He's worked for some great coaches. I say Mike Shanahan, and I always put the dad because a lot of people get him confused with Kyle Shanahan. Shanahan is the coach of the 49ers, but his dad was the coach of the Denver Broncos, the Raiders, and the Washington Redskins. So McVeigh did work for him. McVeigh has worked for both John Gruden and Jay Gruden. John Gruden was the one who gave him the start in Tampa Bay as like a wide receiver assistant coach or something like that. So McVeigh is known as an offensive coordinator, or offensive genius. A lot of people get hired just because they work on his staff now or they've worked around him. So for being 34 years old, he has a great name in the NFL industry. And he's turned the Rams around in just a couple seasons after Jeff Fisher was there. You know what I mean? So he's doing what he can. And did you know McVeigh was the Georgia State Offensive Player of the Year and High School Offensive Player of the Year, and he beat out Calvin Johnson as that. So he was a great athlete himself. He went on to the University of Miami, Ohio, where he didn't really fare out, and then that's when he probably figured out coaching was probably better for him. So here's the team rankings, and it actually surprised me because I remember watching the Rams last year, and I thought they were actually a lot worse than what their rankings are saying. They just had a bad break last year, I guess. They still got 9 wins, and they were still close to making the playoffs. Like, I think they said if they would add that extra playoff team, like they are this year, that the Rams would have made that playoff spot. So they were there. They just had a couple bad games. Against Tampa Bay, they gave up like 55 points. The Ravens and the Cowboys put up 45 and 44 points. They put up 400 and something yards on them. The offense turned the ball over enough, too many times. The rushing game, in 8 games, they were held under 90 yards rushing. That's not including like 2 more games that they only had like 99 or like 98 yards. So maybe 10 games total. They were held under 100 yards rushing, which, some teams can win without it, but rushing is a big thing, and it shows like your wins. That's where you're gonna get your wins in the running game. The third downs, they were both average. The offense was like 15th, and I think the defense was 18th in stopping third downs. So they have to get better at that, and I think they will because, like it says, they've improved. I thought the defense improved with Jalen Ramsey when he came on and when he actually started getting going and getting used to the defensive system. So I thought they got better on that. The defense sucked in the red zone. They were like 28th in the red zone. So when a team entered the red zone, you just figured, hey, they're going to score right now, and there's nothing the Rams could do about it. So they're going to get better at that. They're going to get better at that, and it comes. It's just something that I think is it's a young defense. So here's Jared Goff, and he's your starting quarterback. He's number 1 overall pick. Last year he threw for 4,638 yards, 22 touchdowns, 16 interceptions is what's going to hurt him, especially in that division. Going up against Russell Wilson, Kyle Murray and Jimmy G, and those teams you can't make those mistakes against. He threw almost 63% completion rate, so that's good. The game I went to against the 49ers, I was at that game live. Dude, that was a horrible game. I'm surprised he finished with 78 yards in that game, but it was just a horrible game against and I thought the Rams started out good. That's when they had Robert Woods like run to the side and take it in. but then the 49ers just dominated them. Here's your superstars. I know a lot of people are going to be like, why didn't you put Cooper Kupp up there? I don't know. I just didn't. I'll get to the Cooper Kupp later, but yeah, Cooper Kupp is a superstar. I just never put him on here. Aaron Donald is your main guy. Everybody knows Aaron Donald. For a defensive lineman, he's made a big name for himself, right? So not a lot of people know offensive and defensive linemen, like everybody in the every NFL fan, but every NFL fan knows Aaron Donald, and he had 12.5 sacks last year. He had a safety. He had 2 forced fumbles, a fumble recovery, and 24 quarterback hits. So he's still dominating. He's still going to be that guy. And I'll tell you in a little bit of what I think of what they did around him. Robert Woods, I like Robert Woods. I think he's very underrated. He played for Buffalo, and they came over here back to his hometown to L.A., and he's still putting up good numbers. And last year he had 90 catches, 1,134 yards receiving, and 1 touchdown. Which the touchdowns were down, but I believe that there was a couple games he didn't really play, or there was some stuff going on at home that he had to take care of. So he wasn't probably all the way mentally there. But once he's there, he's one of the best wide receivers and very overlooked. I believe that in this game. Ramsey came over from the Jacksonville Jaguars. They gave up a good trade bargain for him. He came over and he only played in 9 games, but he got an interception, a forced fumble, and 33 tackles. So once he gets that full offseason under his belt, he's used to the defense, which he started getting better towards the end of the year. I think he's going to make a big difference, to go along with when you got Aaron Donald running in your face and you're trying to get rid of the ball. And you got to throw it up, and Jalen Ramsey right there, that kind of sucks, right, for a quarterback. Here's their draft picks. I actually think they did pretty good. I like Van Jefferson. I like Akers. Akers is 5'10". He had almost 3,000 yards rushing at Florida State. Every year he got better and better in the passing game. So his receptions would go up every year. So I think he's going to be. A lot of people think he might be able to compete for the starting job this year. We'll see. Burgess, I like. The rest of these guys, they could become something. Lewis has a chance, with the linebacker situation going on. So it's not a bad draft. It's not a great draft, but it's like a solid. See what they're about. Hopefully, some of these guys turn in, and so it's not a bad draft. And Ram fans should be happy about this draft. And Akers. Could turn in to be one of the best running backs of the league if they use him correctly, which he's going to the offensive genius Sean McVeigh, so yeah, he could be used correctly. Here's your offensive depth chart. Already talked about Goff. Darrell Henderson and Malcolm Brown, they're basically your guys that took over for Gurley, where they try to bring him in and see what they were about. I think Henderson had 39 carries for 147 yards, no touchdowns. Brown was your main guy. He had 69 rushes, 255 yards rushing, and 5 TDs. So those are the guys that they might try to get going before they get Akers. But if Akers shows that he's the guy in the camp, you might as well just start him, right? It doesn't matter, and just use the guys use Brown and Henderson like you did last year, and let Akers run all over the place. Cooper Kupp, like I said, Cooper Kupp is I think he's underlooked too. Like these guys. These Rams wide receivers, I think people always, even with Sean McVay, people are always like, oh, the Rams offense is Jared Goff. Oh, Cooper Kupp. Oh, and they don't see the numbers that these guys put up, and they put up, extraordinary numbers like Cooper Kupp, 94 catches last year, 1,161 yards, and 10 TDs. So Cooper Kupp's right there as one of the best in the league. Robert Woods is very underrated. He's one of the best in the league. And Josh Reynolds, I think Josh Reynolds didn't really do much last year, but the year that they went to the Super Bowl, that was the year that he was that third wide receiver that he was showing off, and he had a couple big games here and there, and he was scoring touchdowns. And last year, I think he had a couple of problems with drops. I don't know what happened with him, but he wasn't the same. But I think they're going to give him the shot. He's going to have a shot this year. You're the number 3 guy. And they brought in Jefferson if he doesn't work out. But this is Josh Reynolds. He has to be that guy. He has to show up this year and be that third guy. Another overlooked tight end, and this guy could be like a fantasy sleeper. A lot of people are liking him in the late rounds of the fantasy draft because a lot of people are forgetting about him and forgetting what Tyler Higbee does. So last year, Tyler Higbee had 69 receptions, 734 yards receiving, and 3 touchdowns. So he's right there. That right there, if Jared Goff has weapons. I mean, your running back position is probably your only questionable spot. But, I mean, like I said, if Cam Akers or one of the other guys could just get it going just a little bit, this offense can be, in the top 10 again, just with the way that McVeigh is going to be the offensive innovator and get people in the right position. Like I said, some coaches don't need the greatest elite players. They just need players, and they put them in the position. They use the players to their advantage. They find out what this guy's good at, and they use it. So that's what I believe Sean McVay does. The offensive line, they brought in Corbett from the Browns. The rest of it just looks solid. I mean, it seemed to me like I thought Jared Goff got sacked a lot more than he did last year, but it was only 22 times that he got sacked. So the offensive line isn't as bad as advertised. Like I said, that could just be Sean McVay's play design, that he moves people around, does certain things where that pressure isn't getting there. But they do play Seattle and San Francisco twice a year, so it's pretty tough. So here's their defensive depth chart right here. They bring in Michael Brockers. He almost left to the Baltimore Ravens this year, but something happened where he came back. So he'll be back. He needs to get it going. I think he only had 3 sacks or something like that. The guy I think that's going to be a great addition to this team, and I think he's going to help Aaron Donald out a lot, is Ashawn Robinson. You remember him from Alabama. He went to Detroit. Didn't really – okay, I can't really say – oh, he had a great career in Detroit. He only had 5 career sacks, but this dude right here is a run stopper, and he can make some plays in the passing game. When Aaron Donald's rushing that quarterback and Robinson's staying there and getting the running back, or Robinson's going to make a big difference. I'll just tell you that's a big help to Aaron Donald, I believe so, and I think that's like an underrated signing that people will see. Kaiser is taking over at the linebacker position. He was supposed to be the starting linebacker last year. Tore his pec in the preseason. Never got to cut on the field. Never played. It's his 3rd year in the league. He's never played anything but special teams. Never got to play defense, but last year was supposed to be that time. It just never happened. So this is going to be his time now. Reader is started 8 games last year. He had two forced fumbles, 58 tackles. So he'll be getting better this year. Leonard Floyd's coming over from the Chicago Bears. We'll see what happens with him. He has 18 and a half career sacks, 154 total tackles. So we'll see how he does. Of course, you already know Jalen Ramsey. Tyler Rapp had 100 tackles last year at the safety position. That's probably he was like your number 3 tackler last year, besides Littleton who's gone and Whittle who's gone. So Rapp is probably the guy they're gonna have to rely on a little bit. He'll had 2 interceptions in his time playing. He'll get better along with Ramsey. Johnson had 2 interceptions. He only played 5 games. He'll get better. So it's like a young defense, not a lot of playing time, but the talent's there. So they just have to get time to gel, get time to that game experience, and get out there and stay healthy, and they can get it going. So I can't really knock the defense. It's as long as their offense doesn't put them in bad situations and fumble the ball, and give the other offensive short fields. This defense should be able to stop some people. They should be able to compete, but their division has gotten better, and they're going to play some tough teams. So, but I think the defense is good. Week 1, I mean, like I said, they played the Cowboys last year. They gave up 45 points, 470 yards. So, and then they got playing week 1 this year. So we'll see how good that defense is. We'll see how good this team is right off the bat, just right away. And then the Eagles, I think the Eagles are improved, but they could be Eagles are beatable. I like the Buffalo Bills. I think they're going to be one of the best teams in the league this year. Giants, we'll see. They're an up-and-coming team. They're not really solid. Redskins, and then you got the 49ers. You got the Bears. Dolphins are an coming team. Then that back half of the schedule is where you play some tough teams. But they're not bad. It's winnable schedule. It's a winnable schedule, but it's a tough schedule. Nothing too hard, but I don't know. I just don't. I know you can get mad at me, LA fans. I don't see it. I see it. I don't see the running game kicking off, and I think that's what's getting to me is most is that running game and the young defense. I just don't see them being able to pull it off like they have been. Not saying that they're a bad team. I just don't see them getting the wins. I see them hanging in and being close in all the games, but just losing it by a little bit. And this is just that 1 year where it's going to be tough. I mean, you're losing Todd Gurley. You're losing Littleton on defense. You're losing these guys that are big deals. These are big players, and they're gone now. And these are big, leadership guys. And yeah, you still have your core, but I don't know. I think they struggle this year. If I think with the improvement, like I said, with the improvement of the Cardinals, I think Seattle's still good. Even though I blame the Rams for Russell Wilson losing the MVP last year, because in that game in LA when they shut him down, that killed Russell Wilson's chance of winning the MVP. So the Rams did have highlights last year, but then there were some games that they were completely horrible. So I'm gonna go with 6-10. That's me. That's my prediction. And I would put them at 4th in their division. I know if you don't like it, you can comment below and you can tell me how much I suck, how much you hate me, how much the Rams. But that's cool. Tell me what I missed. Tell me what I missed in this Rams team, and what you think will make them better than 6-10, and what I put a high of 11-5 because say Arizona does struggle, say San Francisco, Jimmy G comes out and doesn't do as good, or something happens in Seattle, Russell Wilson goes down, or I don't know, something happens. I put 11-5 for Los Angeles as their high. I don't see them dropping anywhere. I was gonna put low of 6-10 because that's probably I don't see them going anywhere lower than that. My prediction could be wrong. I probably an 8-18, right? 9-7 again. But I'm just saying, I think everybody else in their division has gone up. They've just stayed the same, if you want to say it that way. So they're not horrible. They're not bad. They just stay the same, and they're consistent like this. And I think the salary cap is what got them a lot. And paying Jared Goff, doing all this has got to them. And that's why I'm going with the 6-10. But like I said, you can hate all you want. Here's their salary cap numbers. They're going to have to move some stuff around to get some of these guys signed, which would be, I think they already did with Jared Goff. I think they got him to do something. So I think their numbers will go up a little bit. Next year, they have some, it's going to be 42, but then they have some wiggle room when the NFL announces how much more they're going to add to the cap. But their main two top free agents next year will be Jalen Ramsey, of course, and Cooper Kupp, which with 45 million next year, they will be able to move some around, and I think they could be, if they want to, they could keep them. If they don't want to, they'll have to get rid of them. So that's just me. Like I said, 6-10 for the Los Angeles Rams. I know you can get mad. Sean McVeigh is a great coach. I think even at the 6-10 record, there should be no reason to even talk about getting rid of him. No matter, I don't even care if the Rams come out and just lay an egg and don't even get 200 yards rushing or 200 total yards offense of any game. Sean McVay's job should be safe in LA no matter what. 6-10. It's just going to be a learning year. A young team that's going to have to learn, and that defense has to gel. And you might have to, maybe next year you're going to have to replace some of them. But that's what's going to happen. Hopefully they can find a running back, and hopefully one of these guys stick. I'm hoping Akers is the guy. I'm hoping he turns out to be awesome, and maybe he turns out to be like a Dalvin Cook in Minnesota. So, Ram fans, hang in there this year. Show up to the games. Enjoy the new stadium if they allow you to. But just know that it might not be that winning season. But I mean, they could prove me wrong. Let me know down below what you guys think. What I missed. Why I suck, all that stuff. You can put it down below. I'm Joe Morley. You can check me out at Joe Morley Sports. You can listen to all my podcasts. You can check out my more YouTube team previews available on YouTube. But I appreciate you guys listening, and stay healthy.